If you're in a season of life where you feel like you've been completely wrung dry and you have nothing left in you, I want you to listen to this. Let me just take a second to encourage you that that's not a bad thing. I know it feels like a bad thing because you say, look at everything that's happened to me. How could any of this possibly be for my good? Because we know that the Bible says that God works all things together for our good, but we don't see how that's possible. One thing that I absolutely love is how nature points us to the way that God does things. So if we look in nature, especially right now in the wintertime, we see that things have to die before other things can be brought to life. You think about the fall and how all of the leaves fall off of the tree and die. But you know what that does is that provides the soil with the nutrients that it needs to spring forth new growth in the spring. So whatever it is that's dying off of you right now is going to become the fertilizer that will propel your blessing into new growth. Could things still grow without this process? Yeah, but they're not going to be as glorious. The thing is, the leaves always come back to the tree. The leaves always grow again, but this time they're not tattered and torn. They're brand new. So whatever you're having to let go of, don't cling to it. Because if you will fully let it go, if you will fully surrender it, then it will lead to new growth that will be better than it was before. I don't know what that situation looks like for you, but I do know that God's not done with it yet. The other day I was having a conversation with God and I said, God, I just don't feel like I'm any closer to my promises. I just don't feel like we're getting there. It almost feels like I'm further away than I was to begin with. And he said, Caitlin, do you remember how it feels whenever you design something? Because let me show you this. I'm in my office right now. And it turned out pretty killer, if I do say so myself. This place is gorgeous, right? But it wasn't that way. In fact, if you saw this room before, you would think, how in the heck did you get there? But it's because I had a vision for it that no one else could see. I walked into this room when it was gross and filled with spider webs and poop and, like all of the nasty stuff. And I looked at this room and I had a vision. And I could see what it would be if I got my hands on it and was allowed to do what I wanted to do to it. But throughout this process, nobody else had that same vision. And so I'm sure for other people, it was like, are you sure you want that to be your office? Because that's kind of gross. Are you sure you wouldn't just want to buy a brand new building and turn that into your office? Because that room has just been sitting for forever and it's nasty. But by the time I got done with this room, everyone was shocked because they couldn't see what was in my head. They couldn't see the vision that I had for it. So God said to me, it's the same thing. God has a vision for our future. But yeah, the renovation part is nasty and it gets worse before it gets better. But if we will just trust his vision and if we will just recognize that any of the other times we've surrendered things to him, he's always made it better. He's always made it incredible and better than we could have ever imagined because we didn't have the vision for it, but he does. So this is where you have to trust the process. This is where you have to choose to put your trust in the one who has a vision for this situation. Because no matter how nasty it looks right now, he's not done yet. Now, I know that these messages are very inspiring and that a lot of people love listening to them and learning something. But this year, I really want to take people from just hearing about these things into actually putting them into practice. So if you want help putting these things into practice and actually transforming your life so that it doesn't look the same by the time we get to December of this year, then I have a mentorship program that I'd really like you to consider joining. I know that this mentorship program is going to be a small group of people, and I'm okay with that because I'd actually prefer it that way. The smaller the group, the more people I can invest in. But if you want to be one of those people that I invest in and that I coach and that I get you closer to God by the end of this year, then I hope you'll consider joining us. And if that's not for you, but you still want to get closer to God and you haven't read my book yet, I'd encourage you to go pick up a copy. This is 7 Days to a Life of Limitless, How to Ditch the Rules of Religion and Discover Unrestricted Freedom. I also have this journal to go with it called Go Ask God the Journal. It's 120 question prompts that help you practice hearing God's voice. You can find both of these on TikTok Shop, on Amazon, or you can get signed copies at yourfriendcaitlin.com.